Hi, guys. We're going to go ahead and finish up your bear hunt lab and do a discussion about what all we saw today. So let's take a look and let's actually kind of remember what all went into today's bear hunt. So, first, um, we know that what we did was after we got all of our data inside and got the inside bear hunt's population, so we had the luxury of knowing what inside bear hunt was. Then we went outside and we collected that data outside to get our sample. Okay. And we somebody tallied for us so that we could then get our percentages as we went through our bear hunt. Okay. So that's pretty much where we left it. Now, what we really want to do now is compare the results of what you saw when you went out there on your bear hunt to what we know was put out there. Okay? Here on this sample, this person only saw 3% brown bears out there and 43% yellow. Well, let's take a look at what the population said. Here in my sample from a few years ago, there was supposed to be 21% brown bears out there. Well, if that's the case, why did I only get 3% on my flyover, my aerial flyover? What happened? Did I eat all the brown bears before I went and put them out there? Maybe. No, I didn't. I didn't eat all the brown bears before I went out there. You only saw 3%, but yet there was about 21% of them out there. So we need to discuss that. These questions right here is what we're going to talk about next. Okay, so let's go ahead then take a look at what we got right here. All right. So here is a sample. Yours may look different from this. Okay, so 36 orange, and then what I have in red is what one of my classes today came up with. So here was another class today and the results they had. So here I saw 36% orange and there was 33 there. I actually put 33% orange out there. So that was pretty good. That's actually pretty close. How about green? I only saw 18% green, but there were 30% green out there. So almost a third of what was out there was supposed to be green, and yet I only saw 18% green. How about the yellow? I only put 17% yellow out there, but I saw 43%. Whoa, that was a ton of yellow that I saw. And then let's look at the brown. Only 3% of what I saw. I only saw one brown out of 33 bears, one brown bear. And yet 20% of what I put out there were brown bears. What's going on? Well, first, let's talk about what represents the population in our activity and what represents the sample. Okay, so what do you think that population, what was that population? What do you think that was? So that was the total amount of bears in our entire class, okay? The Aledo National Forest. All right. So what we did in class together, that was the population. All right. Then what's the sample? What in our lab was the sample? Okay. Well, hopefully you figured out that what was in the sample is the bears that we saw in our aerial flyover, or your helicopter going um, when we went outside to the forest. Okay. All right. So how those compare? How did your outside bear hunt compare to what you expected to find or what you know was out there? Well, we just kind of discussed that. So what do you think? Orange actually, orange was about the same. Now, I don't know how it was in your class. If you were here in person, then you might have had I did see a little bit more orange than I actually put out there. I mean, but what stands out to me is the thing that makes the most outstanding thing to me is the yellow and the brown. I mean, green was pretty far off also. Orange wasn't too bad. But what the biggest thing to me was that I saw much more yellow bears than I saw. I saw much higher percent, much higher percent of yellow bears than what was put out there, than what is actually out there. And that's a big deal. I mean, way bigger. Orange, we saw more too, but it wasn't too bad. Now, I saw much lower percent of brown bears, and green bears. That's a lot, 18%, and I was supposed to see almost a third of them, and green bears than what is actually out there. Okay? All right. So there's what's going on. So there, in my mind, was definitely a discrepancy. Okay? So why do you think that happened? You know, why didn't you see those brown bears? I put them out there. I'm telling you, I did not eat them on my way out there when I was walking to go put them out there. What is wrong with you? Did you purposefully not try to see those brown bears or what? What do you think? Well, hopefully you can come to the conclusion that I can more easily see the brighter colors, the yellow and the orange. Okay, and then what else? The brown and green blended in with the grass and dirt. Okay, so it was harder to see those. So, in summary, we had what we would say was a visual bias. Okay, and here's what I want you to get through no fault of your own. You didn't plan to not see those other things. That's just the nature of our eyes. So, what the point is that we did not purposefully try to misrepresent what we saw. It just happened because of the bad design of the sampling method. We chose a sampling method that had a problem with how we see things, and then that made our sample not representative of the population. And so that's the key component. And so I want you to really notice that our sample was not representative of the population. Big, big, big point. That means, should I take our numbers and go graphic, go run statistical tests on it, start making conclusions about what's happening to the bears in the forest, all that kind of stuff? Should I make conclusions based on that sample? Heck no. No, absolutely not, because it's not a representation of what's really happening. All right. So let's see. How large do you think your sample size should be in order to get valid sampling results? So, should I take you out there again? Maybe should I take you out there and let's go run 10 more strips up and down the get 10 more samples of the what we see in the Aledo National Forest? Should we go do that? Why or why not? Will that give me a better representation? Okay, so think about that for a second. So, one thing I hope you see is that if we go outside and we fly over the Aledo National Forest again, we are going to get similar results. So, going outside and using the same sampling method will get the same biased results. Okay? When you have, a poor sampling method cannot be fixed by taking more samples or, a bigger sample. This can't happen, okay? So that's the deal. And that's the key to the Bear Hunt Lab. We had bias. It was a poor sampling method. It was not representative of the population. And going out there and doing more flyovers is not going to fix the problem. All right. So the key is we've got to find sampling methods that work. Now, you have or are about to do the random rectangles, and that is 5 different sampling methods, and we're going to see how those turned out. See how those sampling methods represented the 100 rectangles on that page.